I remember this building actually when they opened this, what is a youth center, and we would have sort of teen dances here, so just imagine like a bunch of confused teenagers dancing around here. It's good times. I can't really tell our story without telling my own story, so during this time, first of all, I want to just preface this. I want to talk about where we're from, where we are now, where we're going, what we really do, why we do what we do, and what it is that we need. I grew up here and I was listening to the radio and I wanted the radio music to sound better. I wanted the Nunavut music to sound like Michael Jackson and Eminem. And I knew some artists, so I started working with them, with my background sort of working in music, and I started producing music. One thing led to another. I started working with the now late Kelly Fraser. We had this idea to go to the communities to give them some of the opportunities that I had had as a 15-year-old, dancing here, with having just some basic recording equipment. And so we went on our first tour to Kingai, and we donated a music studio, and Kelly did songwriting and music workshops. I would do music production workshops. And that led to one thing. We found other artists to work with, and we developed them. It turned into working on many different albums, creating marketing campaigns, setting up tours, getting licensing deals and merchandising and all of this fun stuff that comes with it. So that's kind of how we got started. Where we're at now, we've got over 20 Inuit and Indigenous artists that we work with in different ways. The way that we work with artists is that there's so much undeveloped talent here in Nunavut, and there's a pretty big lack of musical infrastructure. There's no performance venues, there's music classes in school, which is awesome, and it's a lifeline for a lot of kids. But there's no professional development, and like Kevin, I really loved what you said. You said you want to make it easy for them to buy. And that's kind of what we want to do with music. We want to have what we call export-ready artists. And that's part of the reason why we have offices in Ottawa and Toronto, because we want to connect Nunavut artists to broader Canadian and international music scene. I just want to talk a little bit about some of our success stories, some of our artists. There's Angela Amakwalik, who we discovered on one of our tours to the communities, and who later went back to teach that same tour, and who has won multiple awards with her albums. She's got her second album coming out actually next week or in 2 weeks or something, with like a Grammy Award-winning producer who's worked with Buffy St. Marie, Sinead O'Connor, Sting, Quincy Jones, you name it, who's actually in town. We brought him up this week. Then there's Shauna Sitinak, who's a female hip-hop artist who's starting to produce her own album. She wants to produce other young Inuit female artists. And she's also promoting a healthy lifestyle and sobriety and stuff like that. There's Hatu, who's based in Ottawa, who came to one of our writing camps and quit her job afterwards, and is now working full-time as a performing artist. And then there's Joey Nauyuk, which, Eric, you know this, who we actually started working with in Pang on one of our tours as well. And he's had multiple #1 hits on Indigenous Music Countdown. He's won awards, he's been at film festivals, he's doing an international showcase in London. Things are really blown up. He's got over 1 million, he's got millions of streams, and it's pretty cool for him. And then there's young Jacob Okatsiak, who now has his own studio set up, and he's actively producing other artists. And we're in the works to try to hire him to produce albums for us as a producer. He's also got his first own album coming out in a couple of weeks. So where we want to go with this is we want to optimize our processes in order to help more artists. We've got 15 active projects that we're managing this year, which has gone from 15 this year. I think it was 8 last year, 2 the year before, 2 the year before. It's kind of gone like this. We're bringing on new staff. We're also we're actually launching the Arctic Music Awards and the Arctic Music Conference in the spring or the winter, I forget when, it's a little bit fuzzy. And we're also setting up a music industry association in Nunavut in order to help more artists, because as a for-profit company, there is a big limit to what we can do. And some projects like these writing camps and some of this more sort of infrastructural work that we want to do, we can't really do through a company. So on the surface, we're a record label and we do music, and it's all fun music. It's great. But how we think of ourselves, what we actually do is we create economic development through skills training, through planning, a lot of mindset stuff, and just belief that there can be success, because we've had some big successes. And just like when me and Kelly did tours, one of the biggest moments for me personally was just watching a row of like 6 or 7-year-old Inuit girls sitting in the front row and just eyes starstruck, just watching this young, incredible singer performing. They're like, I can do that. And then oftentimes it's just basic capacity building, like setting up bank accounts or signing documents electronically. Really building that infrastructure from the ground up and developing transferable skills. As a secondary mission, like we also want to strengthen culture. We don't try to censor or change what an artist wants to say or how they want to say it. We're completely non-biased. It's like, you think that? Say it. It's not our job to tell them what to do. And we've had instances where we've had conflicting interests where someone wanted to support a project, but they wanted to change something, and we're like, okay, it's not. Our job is really to put people together where it's 100% integrity with what they're willing to support and what the artist wants to say. And so why we do what we do is that we really want to give these opportunities to people who don't have them. We want to bridge that gap. There's a lot of barriers to access in Nunavut, in music, and oftentimes they're hidden barriers, but we see them all the time. And so that's the bridge we're trying to gap. And we also just want to create a supportive community and music network in the territory. Over the last 3 years, a lot of this has been virtual, and we've got like a Facebook group chat that's just off the charts. It's so much fun. And it's super supportive, and like it gets really personal. It gets like into mental health and stuff. Like we got this really cool team going, and because it's like the iceberg, right? Music is just the tip of the iceberg, but underneath there's all there's culture, there's language, there's personal history. So what do we need? So first of all, we want to say thank you to the patrons that we work with. A lot of them are like the government of Nunavut. We've got QIA, NTI, Makakiakta, Canada Council for the Arts, and Factor. We're getting into some more national funding organizations who support our artists. So we want to really thank them because we are an artist development agency, and we're developing artists kind of from the ground up because there's been such a lack of infrastructure. Next, we want to create awareness of our artists' needs, especially for our patrons, which is governments, organizations, and even corporate sponsors and the media, because we want to get our artist story out there. I'm kind of a salesy person. Like I'll spam you up the yazoo. Like I don't care. I'll send you 6 emails about the same artist. But it's really because we feel so passionately that we just want to get the artist's story and their names and their music out there. And we also need support from fans, even if it's just sharing posts, streaming their music, or buying their album or merchandise. And like Kevin said as well, like from tourism, cultural exports. When people come here, we want to make it easy for them to buy music. So you'll see about 60% of the CDs at the airport. Those are Hitmakers CDs that we've helped produce. And one of the ways, kind of a salesperson, one of the ways you can support this is we do have a concert coming up on October 1st at Aksarni in the ballroom everyone was at last night. It's the Nunavut Music Export Showcase, and we've got almost all of our artists are in attendance, and they'll all be there. Tickets are only $30 at the door, $15 online. Okay, that's it, I'm done selling. So that's kind of my spiel. That's what we do. That's what we're hoping to do. We thank you all for being here and for showing support for the cultural industries. It's super important, and it's a renewable resource. We've got so much talent in Nunavut. We just gotta empower it. Thank you.